Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And a preliminary Chag Sameach, as Passover is just around the corner. At Passover, we are, of course, accustomed to having guests to our house or of being a guest at someone else's. And, of course, hopefully you'll be joining us for our second night Seder. But there is always one guest that gets special mention and special anticipation. The guest that we hope will come to our Seder, even if we're not sure whether or not he's going to show up. This special guest, of course, would be Elijah, right? Eliyahu Hanavi. Why? Why are we looking for Elijah the prophet? What about Eliyahu makes him especially welcome at the Seder, not only at other times during the year? And why, indeed, among all of the different Nevi'im, the different prophets, would Elijah stand out as being the one we are looking for? Any thoughts on this?
Predates the Messiah.
Well, he will be
Heralding.
Heralding,
Heralding.
right? He will be arriving to presage the coming of the Messiah. And we know that because of tomorrow's Haftarah. The Haftarah for Shabbat Hagadol, the Shabbat right before Pesach, has a prophecy from the prophet Malachi, and in it, at the very conclusion, he says that Elijah will come. And when Elijah comes, he will turn the hearts of parents to children. Now, that verse, of course, has to be interpreted, because what do we mean by that? Are we saying that parents and children don't love each other enough? Well, enough is a fancy word, but certainly our tradition has recognized that within many households, there can be generational strife with children trying to rebel against parents and parents trying to overburden and impose upon their children. And that strife can reach critical mass when it is tearing apart a society. On the other hand, our tradition has also interpreted this to be the parent-child relationship as a metaphor for the teacher-student relationship. The rabbis, of course, being teachers, were big fans of a smooth continuity of wisdom and understanding for our community. They also, having been students once themselves, recognized that students were not always perfect vessels for their teachers' imparting of knowledge, and that sometimes the student would rebel or at the very least be careless in their studies, and thus make it hard to continue that process of transition, and the rancor that could develop between students and teachers could also be very problematic. And so looking for peace here. And then the third interpretation is that the parent-child relationship that is spoken about here is the relationship between our Avinu, our ultimate parent, and ourselves, between God and our people. That we see ourselves as being the children of God, and as such, well, we also recognize that that relationship can get strained. But that then forces us to ask the question, if Elijah is coming before the Messiah, and he has a job to do to reconcile whichever way we wish to interpret this relationship, does that mean that if it doesn't work, the Messiah won't come? Is the Messiah's arrival conditional upon Elijah's success? And if it's conditional upon Elijah's success, doesn't that really mean it's conditional on us? Doesn't that mean we could blow this whole thing? That God could have everything laid out and send Elijah down, and Elijah works and works and works, and eventually has to say, can't do it, God. Not going to happen. These people just aren't listening. No reconciliation happening here. I guess you can put the Messiah back on the shelf. This is a very real tension within Jewish study of whether or not, when we contemplate the end of days, when we contemplate this moment, this threshold of redemption, whether or not it would be possible for us to stumble. Likewise, there are countervailing opinions within the other prophets and within our tradition that say, as a matter of fact, this is only one of many possibilities that might come at the end of days. That it could be instead that we are able to accelerate the arrival of the Messiah through our deeds. That it may be that Elijah and his reconciliation opportunity is not necessary because we will have leapfrogged that stage of our development and already be a fit and welcoming to the Messiah without the need of Elijah's intervention. But still other prophecies speak of great war and great struggle. Those are the ones that usually get broadcast on AM radio or in its modern incantation, YouTube and TikTok. When I was growing up, it was driving up I-5 for 8 hours and only listening to AM radio and hearing everybody looking for the signs of the coming apocalypse. And there are voices that say, no, the only way this world will transition into its redeemed state will be through great and terrible wars that none of us should wish to be a part of. Will the real eschatology please stand up? Will the real vision of the end of days reveal itself? Can we see what is actually going on? Well, if you are curious, this is a commercial for my study program. Beginning after Pesach, it's the 16th, I believe. 15th, thank you, of April. I'll be beginning during my Lunch and Learn class, which is also live streamed through Zoom and YouTube and recorded on YouTube, to look at the Jewish ideas of the end of days. Not just as an academic study of what are the different opinions, but because each of the different ideas that I have mentioned were shared through our people as an idea that would have an impact on ourselves right now. Not to say that we are in the end times. I know there are many people who love to pull that whistle blow and go, end of days, I'm sure I'm right this time. I'm not saying that. But whether the coming of the Messiah will be in a week or whether the coming of the Messiah will be in 1,000 years, there are things that have been shared in the wisdom of our people for thousands of years that allow us to live this day in a better way, with greater faith, but also with greater purpose and understanding, and that we can begin to reap the benefits of what that redeemed world will be long before the Messiah even shows up. So hopefully that will be enough to whet your appetite, and keep an eye out for more advertising and links and all of that other good stuff. But we do have a long and storied tradition of discussing our vision for what the world can be, should be, and how it can become. And we have used that for thousands of years to give ourselves not only strength to endure the broken state of the world, but also the strength to work on making the world a little more complete, a little bit more intact, a little bit more shalom. With that, I will wish you all Shabbat Shalom.